Hi, it's Wednesday, April 7th, Wednesday of Holy Week 2020. And for my devotion today, I thought I would um, mess around and find some humor and some inspiration in the virtual backgrounds that I've found on Zoom while I've been learning and growing in my knowledge of how to use this as a tool. So, the reality of where we're living right now, how we're living, and what we're doing is that there are a lot of things to be scared about, and a lot of very trying experiences, and um, and it's helpful to try and find words of encouragement from the scriptures. So I'm going to use a couple of those today to highlight how it is we can find hope in the words of the Bible. So, for example, there's a place in Hebrews where Paul writes to the early church and says this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Well, oftentimes when we think of running the race, we think of the rat race, the way in which our world moves so fast. But right now, our world is not moving so fast. A lot of the time, our world is sitting very still. And and there may be times in this time of sitting still where we're sequestered and we're isolated and we are stuck at home with our families in ways that are really, really trying. We may find that the time that we thought we would be looking forward to, time at home with the kids and your spouse, may not be all it's cracked up to be. I'm not saying that it's hellish, but there may be parts of it that are a lot more like this than this. Maybe like this and not like this. Let's try and get along. And let's hope for a little more of this and a little less of the other. But again, while we're at home, we can find ways to be inspired by the words of the scriptures. So I came across this passage recently, and I was pondering what this means. That in John's gospel, the very last verse of John's gospel is this. But there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that the world itself would not contain the books that would be written. Not contain the books that would be written? Jesus did many other things besides these? Blows my mind. We might have so many other things that we could learn in this time that is not just about being alone, being isolated, being quiet. Huh. There might be more that we can learn from this time. And we're not the only ones who have done this. In in the words of scripture, there's also, the cloud of witnesses that have come before us. But oftentimes we read about the cloud of witnesses when we read the passages that are meant to give us comfort, passages that are oftentimes used around funerals. It may be that we are doing some mourning now. So it may be helpful to reach back into the Bible and find hope like we normally do at times of grief and trouble from the book of Revelation, from Revelation 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. He who was seated on the throne said, See, I am making all things new. God is making all things new, even in this time. And the new Jerusalem, the new city of God, may not look like the cities that we know. It may have some similar things, but it probably will be unlike what we expect. But God is making all things new, even in this time when we are struggling so mightily. So let's find a word of peace and comfort in the words of Scripture. And let me be the one to remind you of this. This just in. He's got the whole world in his hands. Still. This is Pastor Jeff saying, good night. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of one another. And trust in God. Talk to you soon.